Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Welcome back. Before we get started and go around and say our names and I introduce our speaker, I just want to do a shout out of gratitude to Grisha, who set up everything for Zoom, and then when he realized our speaker was going to be in person, set up everything again for our speaker being in person. Thank you so much, Grisha, and Cass as well, and Henry and all our Zoom Hildas for helping make this happen. A lot of gratitude there. I'm George. We'll go around and say our names. I'm George.
Alex.
Luis.
My name is Henry.
Jim.
Jerry.
Stephen.
Marty.
I'm Brian.
Grisha. George.
My name is Tom.
Jack.
Tim.
Tony.
John.
My name is Cass.
Marcus.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone on Zoom as well. Our speaker today is Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin, M.A., has practiced in the Insight tradition for a decade. He is currently a student in the Dharmacharya lay ordination program guided by Venerable Panavata, Bhikkhuni, and Venerable Bhata Bhikkhu. His socially engaged practice centers on uprooting patriarchal systems in Dharma communities. In 2016, Kevin completed the Practice in Transformative Action program. Kevin is widely known for co-creating spiritual programs for men at East Bay Meditation Center, where he serves as a community teacher. He also serves as a community teacher at Insight Richmond, based in the Bay Area. Welcome, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And I just want to start out with gratitude. First of all, George, thank you so much for reading out that bio. And I'm just realizing how outdated a lot of that information. I think one of the teachers that was named is no longer with us, has crossed over. I dropped out of that program. I ran away from the men's movement. So there's a lot that's happened, right, since that bio was written. So it is wildly outdated, and that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate being acknowledged, and I just want to give a warm and heartfelt shout out to Grisha and Cass, for coordinating, volunteering and coordinating sanghas is how I got started in Dharma community, feeling like I'm a part of a community. So anytime someone is coordinating me, I so appreciate that. And also to all of you who are showing up today, to uphold this tradition. Gay Buddhist Fellowship has been around for so long and has served as a refuge for myself, at a very important part of my life. When I was losing my grandmother and I needed a refuge, this was the only place that was offering a book club that I can join. And the members that were a part of that book club welcomed me with open arms. And then I would have never met John, who became a beloved friend on this Dharma journey together, if it wasn't for this place. We became friends right here in the parlor. And to Jeff, who reached out to me and said, "Hey man, we haven't seen your face here in a while. Why don't you come and pay us a visit?" And of course, I said, "Yeah, I'll be there in person if I can." So here I am today. And I'm based in Los Angeles right now, so So it's a little commute getting here. And with that abundance of like friendship and gratitude that I feel in my heart, I want to return something to you all today and talk a little bit about the alchemy of Metta. And Metta is like one of those, like timeless teachings that teachers come, and they share and they talk about Metta. And I just want to offer a perspective on the Metta practice, particularly because we need compassion, in our society. We need compassion in our communities. And it's often the thing that we struggle with, is with compassion, feeling into that compassion, owning that compassion, feeling it from a very authentic place. So that's what I want to uplift today. It's like, how do we get to that compassion? And I just want to ask, did anyone wake up this morning and center or engage in a Metta practice and a compassion practice when you awakened this morning? Just by a quick show of hands. At any point did you do it? Okay. And I'm not talking about anything elaborate. Just a simple love and kindness practice toward oneself or compassion for others. Coming here, I told John, John was my driver this morning, and I told John, I need to get here at least 30 minutes early. And he said, well, why? No one shows up 30 minutes early. And I didn't want to tell him, but I have to do a lot of love and kindness practice just to show up, right? Just to overcome judgment of myself and others, just to show up and do something like this. So if you encounter me in a parlor and I was a little stoic, it's because I'm, engaged in my own Metta practice. So that's me. Still, compassion is still a work in progress for myself. And so, what is compassion? We live in a hyper-capitalist society that is built a lot on romanticism and developing desires for things that we are told that we should want, and we're guided a lot on how we should feel those things. And compassion is one of them. Self-love is one of them. And so it doesn't strike me as odd that many of us, we struggle to connect with that love for oneself, in that feeling of warmth or that giddiness that often comes on the TV and says, well, this is love. Right. Well, the compassion that I want to offer to you all is that it doesn't often start that way. It doesn't start that way. It starts with a surrender, a surrender to softening one's judgment, one judgment of what one is seeing, perceiving, and feeling. And with that softening, what that looks like is pulling a little bit of that energy, that material that guides our five senses. In the Buddha Dharma, the Buddha, he talks about, the honey ball. And basically what the honey ball is the stickiness, of when our energy is going and our energy is attaching to our five senses. We begin to cling to self. We begin to cling to self-righteousness. And you can tell when that energy material is there and vibrant because there is an immediate right and wrong. It's justifying your position in life. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is who I'm becoming. And so compassion at its very beginning is softening that a little bit and pulling back that energy and allowing the five senses to be what they are. It's just material for how we are navigating in the world. And so it's that energy material. And so in the beginning of the compassion exercise, just employing that curiosity, like what is this energy material that is creating this stickiness situation? And I usually know for myself when that energy is going full stream is when I feel so protracted in just my decision making that I can't see no option ahead. It's either this is the only way it is and this is the only way it's going to be. And for me, in particular, I begin to cut things off, and begin to self-isolate. That's how I know that I'm in that justification, that very strong justification loop or cycle. And what the compassion practice, a metta practice, is asking us to do is to surrender that for a bit, to kind of pull back that material energy and to see the imprint of the condition that we're creating. So it's not a warmth or a giddiness. It's more of in the very beginning. It's more of an investigation or a commitment to holding back this energy that is putting us in a protracted way of seeing things. And I'm so hoping I'm making sense, but I'll continue on. And another aspect that comes second, once we acknowledge that we have this life force that is attaching itself to these five senses that are driving us to a point of being stuck, emotionally stuck, is that with the kindness of pulling back a little bit, we get to actually see that we're all made up of conditioning ultimately. Even in myself, when that energy is so when I'm so attached to my self-view of who I am and what I'm doing and who I'm being, I sometimes can think that I'm the only one on earth who is doing this. I created this. I say that at work often. I created this. This is my project. Who's stealing my work? I turn into like this prima donna. I can admit that. But with enough compassion, when I pull back that energy, I realize, all the hands and hearts who come together to create the conditions so that I can do the work that I'm doing. And that I'm not the only one who's doing this work, or I'm not the only one to think of this idea. Maybe in this time period, maybe I've been blessed to be in a certain position, but it's not because of myself and myself alone. And so I'm always fascinated when I'm able to see that when I pull back just a little bit, that energy. And then consequently, when that happens, then you also have the power to see how that's working for other people. And a natural compassion will arise, right? Because you'll see that we're all kind of imprisoned by our conditioning, and as you begin to loosen up the grip of judgment in your life, and you see that it's possible, you begin to want that for other people. You want that for other people. You want that sense of liberation and that freedom for others. And so in the metta practice, may you be of sound health. May you feel happiness and joy. It takes on a whole other ring. It has a whole other meaning when you genuinely want that for others. And you also realize that no matter how bad you want it on this earth, nothing is really personal. People are just living out their karmic cycles as they form, and they play it out in these weird and interesting ways. And then you just begin to see that we're in this dance, we're in this game, right? And so the point of the practice, us who come together as Buddhists in this contemplative way, is to figure out how to disrupt our own conditioning and our own patterns. And it's not a perfect, it's not a perfect game, and it's not supposed to be. Right? And that's just and that's the way it is. It's not perfect. It's not personal, and it's not perfect. And then the other thing is not permanent, meaning that as things are giving birth, there are also things that are dying, even in this moment. Even as I was sitting here, a lot of the gratitude was me paying attention to what has died in me, since leaving the Bay Area. What is dying currently, like my friend is leaving to go to Portugal, that friendship is forming. There's a part of it that is dying, and then also too what is giving birth in this room, in this moment. Even if we don't have relationship at this present moment, who knows what our future may hold. And so with that, comes with, a certain kind of compassion that things are, in fact, dying and birthing, all at the same time. And so we congregate in Sangha, in this practice of loving kindness toward oneself, demonstrating that loving kindness toward oneself and to one another, as a safe space, because you go out on mission and you may practice a compassion practice and you may get hit over the head. that is a reality. But what safer place can you stretch a little bit to center yourself so that you may feel that curiosity and that quietness and stillness for yourself, and invite others in. What safer place can you find than this place? You'll be hard pressed to find another place. And when you put all of this together, what are the implications, of engaging in a practice in this way? Well, when you're doing the hard work, every day of just merely showing up for oneself, being curious about one's judgment and its hard edges that it presents, pulling back that energy, sending merit not only to yourself but to those who are neutral and those who are difficult. What ends up happening is that there's a sense of sobriety, if I can describe it in that way, a sense of sobriety that we have for reality begins to reveal itself through our own eyes. We begin to have more capacity to see things for what they actually are. But what other people actually feel is the warmth and compassion that we have for life. even if it doesn't feel that way for us, and so for us, the practitioner. So I say this to say, a lot of people will say, well, you have a lot of humility, Kevin, or you're compassionate. But what you don't see is the hell that I'm going through in the inside to make that happen, to transmute those internal conditions so that I can show up in a way that's friendly. And that's all that really matters, right? Is the impact that we're making in this world, especially, at a time where friendliness is not, friendliness is a little bit harder and challenging to come by, where connection is a little challenging to make, as we are becoming a nationwide fractured state, as socioeconomic gap becomes larger. I mean, any division that you name here in America, it is widening and becoming worse. And I don't say that as someone who's bringing negativity, because the way I look at it is, what a great opportunity for us to bring this practice from inside of the meditation center onto the street, so that others can feel that alchemy of Metta. And so that's, my friends, that's what I wanted to share with you all today. It's just really not taking for granted our compassion practice, rallying us around, a call to action to move our practice beyond comfort into places where people need to see us model that kind of humility, and also too not to take each other for granted. This wonderful place that has been stewarded and sustained for many decades now, and let me just do a time check. Oh, I have plenty of time. Sorry. Okay, chapter 15. No, so that in a sense is what I would like to share with you all. And what I would like is if we can, open this up a little bit to hear thoughts or questions of clarification, or just anything that the heart may be holding right now around what was shared, or what was said, or what is stimulating you right now, and then I can add more to that, because there actually is more to that. Yes.
Hey, Kevin, thank you so much. Wow, what a rich talk so far. I had so many insights while you're talking about how I move through the world, and I really appreciate your humility in talking about, the struggle you have as you address these things in real time. I'm reminded yesterday I was near Golden Gate Park and walking along through, crowded, busy streets, and so much traffic, so many people, and just so many triggers. But being okay with it. And I guess my question for you is, so when we see something that is, on the one hand, I can say like, oh wow, that person's really struggling. Or, oh, that person's really being annoying to me, or has bad fashion sense, or, whatever the mind wants to do, this judgment. And being with a friend, you can make funny comments, right, but it's still judgmental. Like, wow, those buds are about to fly off. That person's gained a lot of weight during COVID, or, something like that. What do you do? Like, can you talk a little bit about when those thoughts come to your mind? How do you tip one way versus the other? Like, instead of saying or thinking something judgmental,
perhaps bringing in the compassion side, like, oh, that person's really struggling with something.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that question. And well, I have a story that I want to share as well that can illustrate what I'm about to say. But first, a lot of times what we do as humans, we want to be on the right side of things, and so that's a big thing that we do. We oscillate. Well, what is the right thing to do? And then we oscillate between what we actually want to do and then what we perceive as the right thing to do. And to be honest, from my viewpoint, I don't think either or is right or wrong, or it just is what it is, because maybe your discerning eye does see like these buttons that are popping off or whatever, and maybe it does, maybe there's like some deep insight there, if you were to, work with that a little bit. Maybe it's saying something about you and maybe what you hold to be true. What are your values? So there is opportunity to deepen even with that. And I think people get caught up in the right and wrong thing, and sometimes kind of miss the point. I want to share a story with you, and I hope this kind of addresses what what you're bringing, which is actually quite normal. It's a normal struggle that we all have. And I think I've shared this story before, actually, so I apologize if anyone in here has heard the story. But you remember at the beginning of COVID, when they finally decided to open up the stores. And you remember it was like the whole toilet paper gate thing where toilet paper was disappearing. Do you remember the arrows in the grocery store aisles that said, okay, this row goes, they were like one-way streets, basically. I mean, it seemed like that was years ago, right? But that was not that long ago. This is how much transformation we've been making in this country. That actually seems like it was a long time ago. So it was my first time in a grocery store, and it's really have been my first time, amongst people since we've all been on lockdown. So I was petrified to be in that grocery store. I was like, I had my checklist of everything I wanted. I knew the grocery store like the back of my mind because it was my neighborhood grocery store. And so I'm like gunning the aisles. I'm going to where I need to go to get what I need to get, because I need to get out of here with all of these crazy people. This is where my mind was, right? And every time I would go down the aisle, I would see all these carts like coming at me, and people just look so angry. They just look so angry, and I, in my mind, the way that I process and interpret things was that people wanted to attack me. They didn't like me for whatever reason, but I just saw carts coming at me. I saw these piercing, menacing eyes, like darting in my direction. The people who worked in the store seemed very hostile and unfriendly. And I remember I began having a panic attack. So I knew then. So I had enough practice with Metta to know that, okay, my upadana or my chi energy is too attached in the sense gates. I need to pull back. And I don't have access to a meditation cushion, but I'm going to do this right here in the freezer, in the frozen food. And so I remember pulling the cart to the side because literally my chest was about to explode. And I remember closing my eyes and doing metta practice. May you be happy. May you be at peace. May you be at ease. And really going into a deep, concentrated trance. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this in a frozen aisle of a grocery store in the middle of a pandemic. But at that point, I really had no option, because I literally would have collapsed right there in that store. So as I'm in this practice, when I finally opened up my eyes, when I felt like a balance within and I felt safe enough to open up my eyes, when I opened up my eyes, I didn't see menacing people. What I saw was people who were scared. Who were really scared and struggling with being in the store and may have possibly been going through having panic attacks. I didn't see menacing eyes. I saw eyes that were searching and looking for safety, for a guidepost, for something. And then when I looked down, I didn't see carts coming at me. I saw that I was going up the wrong way on the aisle, right? So it's like this whole world just opened up to me that had been previously closed off. And the implication of that was that I could be of service to others who were. So I remember just making eye contact with, the person around me was just like nodding, like, hey, like I'm struggling too. We're getting through this together. And I remember, like, over a period of minutes, like everybody's like, okay, well, you follow me, we're going through the store together. And when I left the grocery store, I felt like, okay, things are going to be okay. There are good people in this world. But what if I didn't have that potent power that I could just pull out, in that moment, I was grateful for the years of practice to at least have that level of discernment where I could, in the frozen aisle, just stop, slow down time enough that where I can go inward in such a way. And that's not the only time that has happened. This has happened many of times in my life. So this is how I know when the mind is so contracted and that energy is so attached to the sense gates, how constricted our world can be. And there is someone that's sitting in this room right now, that world is just so small right now because of not because there's anything wrong with anyone here, but because of that energy, just that compassion practice is not practiced enough or just completely, absent. So I hope that story has shed some light. So I don't see it as an either or. And usually that's an indication that I'm missing the third way, is when I start thinking, am I on the right side or the wrong side, or is this right or wrong? If it's not apparent, it's like, okay, I need to do some work here. I don't know. Does that make?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And thank you for asking. Just wipe the chair. Okay, good. I have enough time. Yes.
Thank you, Kevin, for your talk. And it's interesting how you asked us to raise our hands. We've been doing Metta, and nobody did. It's like, and I thought, I should be doing Metta. And there have been times when I've tried to practice it, and it sometimes feels kind of self-indulgent and fluffy. But for whatever reason, for good reason, that your talk helped me like reframe it, and like I understand more now how we start here and ripple out. And I'm inspired to make it to try it for a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 years or 10 years or something. And in the recent example, like I guess you just when it's time, it's time. There is a person living in a tent. There's an encampment outside my window. And the first thing I did was get really, like you were describing, on the right side of the wrong, that is private property. And then I also, my compassion went back to like, oh man, you have a home. This person doesn't, like, get over it, dude. But still, like, calling 311 and saying, like, is this right? Is there going to be poop and pee all around the floor? And anyway, so I'm engaging. I'm going out the window. I'm going up to the window every day, and I'm just noticing. what I'm thinking about that person in the tent who's now been there for over a week or 2 weeks maybe. And as it happens, a very dear friend of mine just recently lost housing and is living in a camper van in someone's driveway. And that, so I guess like what I'm saying is like I have a home, may I be safe and in my house, and then it ripples out to someone I know who I love who's now homeless in a camper van, and then someone neutral is just people who are in camps not in front of my apartment. And then the most difficult being this person that I feel is like somehow, taking advantage of my space or something. So anyway, just like bursting open compassion from here on out. But it's difficult. Yeah, I mean, my head is like self-righteous indignation. Get out there, tell that person, get your tent and but go away. In our cult, like you're saying, our world and our city, our state, our nation, our world is dividing. It's getting a more and more giant gap between the haves and the have-nots. And then I think my question always is like, well, how do we get off the cushion and do something about it? But I really appreciate what your talk brought up in me, and the inspiration to do metta to that tent today.
And I feel like your share is perfect and complete in itself, and definitely is Dharma that is alive in itself. But I do want to uplift too, right? It is that feces and urine, is dangerous. It is hazardous. To the health. So your concerns, right? Your concerns are not invalid, and then the person who is trying to house themselves, their concern and their striving for shelter is not invalid, right? And so what you're sitting with is like, well, what is it when two things are, like who, the way that our society is set up, like who wins out, like who's more valid, who's going to win this, this race, and what we're not experiencing, and what you're alluding to in so many ways, what we're not experiencing is a lot of the creative, the third way, and that's where I'm saying that's where the magic is. There is a way to acknowledge both truths, and then also move forward in progress. Like the grocery store example, my anxiety is real. We were in the beginning of a pandemic. I didn't know that we were going to be sitting here a few years later all alive and, looking, healthy and happy. I didn't know that. As far as I'm concerned, it was going to be the apocalypse. So my fear in that moment was valid. And also people who were actually following the rules, coming down the right side of the aisle, their fears and concerns were also valid. But what that metta practice allowed me to do was to open up the world a bit, just to see what else, what else is there. There's always a third way, there's always a third way, even when we feel like our choices are so limited. And that's the magic, that is the magic of living here in this realm in reality, is that our brain will only imagine, two options only if we let it. But if we counter it with another practice, with a practice that can actually meet the limitations of that mind, something else expansive can open up if you're patient enough. So I would love to even know like what comes of that metta practice, over time. Not that there has to be a perfect answer or resolve, but I just would love to know like how things flower. How things flower through your practice, working with those specific conditions, and what do you learn about yourself, and how you're holding what it means to be a housed person. I have my own housed, unhoused stories that I'm shifting through right now, but I'll spare you the details. And let me do another time check. And hopefully, like I said, that your share felt perfect and complete, and probably didn't need my addition, but I was happy to piggyback on that.
I love that, and I just want to also just share the feeling and the thanks that, this is like the moment in this room with you talking where it shifted for me. So it's like that, the Dharma talks work, suddenly I was able to see and hear and feel in a new way. So the thanks goes to you.
Thank you.
I think we're getting close to wrapping up. 11:50. When do we wrap up?
Jeff's got a question.
Question on the line, Jeff.
Timothy was first.
Hi, yes, Timothy here. Thank you so much for your speech, your lecture. It coincidentally, my morning prayer were very much along these lines, and thank you, because it's reaffirming much of the thoughts and actions that I've been engaging in recently. You touched on it early in your talk that, as in my words, seeing my own suffering and realizing it for what it is, I am able to recognize the suffering of others. And in understanding the freedom that I've gained, I really, truly want that for other people. And you're reaffirming these things in my own mind and helping me with my practice. Thank you. The topic of metta is a new one to me, fairly recent in just the last couple of months. And loving kindness. On page 84 of Alcoholics Anonymous book, it says, love and tolerance is our code. And it says love and tolerance of others is our code, but I realized in order to have that for others, I had to have it for myself first. But this idea of metta practice, loving kindness for self and others, there have been two active practices that I've identified. And you've touched on lightly, but I think maybe I can reiterate them in different words. One is active listening to another person without any agenda in my mind or any of my own defenses, but simply to quiet my mind and be present fully. It's hard work, but to be present fully and to hear what the other person is saying rather than formulating answers and stuff. And then the other one, which I've only engaged in recently, but is in getting eye contact with everyone that I encounter, whether it's on the street or in the grocery store, as we touched upon, or on the bus or wherever. And, at first my fears rushed in. Oh, that's ridiculous. You'll invite all kinds of trouble. It'll be nothing but misery and, all those things. But no, actually I'm finding it to be a wondrous experience beyond anything I'd imagined, as these things often are. The eye contact gained from even the drug addicts on the street, because Portland streets are filled with them, but people everywhere, you gain, and there's an instant recognition of the person, and you see something in their mind, and you click, you connect. And for those that I don't gain eye contact with, I say a metta prayer. May you be happy. May you be safe. All those things. And I guess those are just the two things I'd like to offer on. Thank you for because you really added to my own understanding of this topic. I guess that's not a question, is it?
But there is value. There is value in what you shared, and I appreciate you so much for uplifting things that I've said, and also sharing a bit of your practice. what you're actively doing and offering that encouragement to this Sangha and to myself. Appreciate it.
Jeff?
I just want to express gratitude for your talk, Kevin. I really appreciate it. It reminded me of Lama Rod and his statement. Sometimes the Dharma gets very messy, and but you brought it back to it's an inside job, and thank God we have the history of practice to pull ourselves back in when we lose kind of a loving awareness. And because I struggle with comparative mind, judging mind all the time, and the honey pot is sticky, as you said. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so much gratitude for you, Jeff, and yeah, just a lot of gratitude, and thank you for inviting me back here so that I can share this teaching. Just appreciate you.
Thank you. Anyone else here? Before we wrap up, thank you all. Quickly before we transition, I volunteer in a soup kitchen, and I've had people throw food at me. And I was walking on Castro Street the other day, and I looked someone in the eye, like the gentleman online said, and the person spit on me. So it really takes a lot of practice to feel what you're feeling and then not react in a negative way to precipitate that. It's very challenging, very challenging. So I really thank you so much for sharing. Do we have announcements?
I'm the host today, so stay and enjoy the fellowship of the Sangha. We have some vegan treats and some fruit, and there's hot water for tea. And if you have tea, just put your cup in the sink, and I'll take care of it afterwards. I'll be going around with the Dawn Roll to accept any donations to help us meet the expenses of the Sangha. Those include the rent for this lovely space, our monthly newsletter, or our formerly monthly, but now quarterly newsletter that is distributed largely to people who are incarcerated, and also pays for our ability to offer honorariums to our speakers. Around 12:30, some people gather at the front door to go for lunch, and everybody's welcome to join them. We have a retreat coming out in October, so please watch for news about that. Registration will be opening fairly soon. We could always use more volunteers. Thank you, Kevin, for your acknowledgement of the work that it does take to, bring us together every week. And so, if you're interested in either hosting or helping with setup before the meeting or facilitating meetings, please speak to me or contact Jeff through email.
Thank you, guys. Anyone else? Okay. Kevin, would you like to do the dedication here, or should we do our standard one?
I would actually like to do a very simple and informal dedication to Merit, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you circle up?
Okay. Okay, bringing all hearts and minds, breath together to just acknowledge the work that we have all done today in this Sangha. If there is a kernel of truth or any learning that has resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment just to speak that in your heart in any way that you feel invited to do. And with that kernel of truth, may you nurture that truth and experience that truth through your own direct experiences. And may you offer love and compassion to others as you feel called. May these teachings today, may they not only ripple in your heart, but ripple in the minds and hearts of those who love you and those who love them, extending outward until it touches all sentient beings who exist in this realm that we call Earth. And just offering gratitude for each and every one of you, again, for showing up in whatever form or capacity that you can or that you are showing up. Just remembering that you are enough. And with that, I'd just like to close and just say, be happy, be well, be free, be at ease, and thank you again.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.